We had a wild occurrence at a super major happen this past weekend at the Cherokee Super Major in Cherokee, North Carolina. There were some crazy going ons, and we're going to talk about it. And we're going to talk about a lot of the errors and mistakes that you tend to see on stream and how that really freaking happens and how to not get confused by it and make sure that it doesn't screw your games up. So, what are we talking about today? We're talking about the Cherokee Super Major, Cherokee, North Carolina. Guys, this is an awesome, very run well tournament. It's done by FLG. I would love to attend next year when I move back to the States. I think it's definitely going to be one of the ones that I'm for sure going to hit. It is an 8-round tournament, 3 on Friday, 3 on Saturday, and 2 on Sunday. Oh boy, 8 rounds is a lot, let me tell you that. Now, they had absolutely wild happenings going on in the finals at the top table. The top table was going to be Imperial Knights and Orcs with Tactical Brigade, I believe. And this is we're going to talk about what happened, and then we're going to open this up to a larger conversation about what happens on streams, because it does kind of seem like we see a lot of, poor play on stream tables. And we're going to talk about why that might be and what it actually means. So, first things off, there are great players that always make it to the finals, or there's always going to be great players at the finals, and we got big questions for them, okay? If you make it to the finals of a super major in particular, really any major or above, if you're making it to the finals, you're a good player. You're just not getting there without being a good player. That doesn't mean that sometimes you can have a little stream of luck and just like a good player can make it, but so you don't necessarily have to be the top player in the world to do it. But dude, you're not making it there without some skill. It's just not happening. It's pure luck cannot take you to the top of a super major. So both of these people made misplays on stream. So it begs the question. If you're making a misplay on stream, does it make you a cheater? No. Absolutely not. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. Now, in this particular finals, there were 2 separate yellow cards that were given out. One occurrence that happened is there was a unit of flash gits led by the mech captain who was shooting at Canis Rex. And the Orc player asked the Imperial Knights player, he said, hey, what is the toughness of Canis Rex? The Imperial Knights player responded with toughness 10. At that point, the Orcs player went ahead and rolled all of his dice and killed Canis Rex by wounding him on 5s with the flash gits who were only strength 6. Now, for those of you who don't know, Canis Rex's toughness is actually toughness 12. So the Orcs player should have been wounding him on 6s. Now, after this happened, somebody who was watching the stream sent a text to the Imperial Knights player and said, hey, Canis Rex is toughness 12, allegedly. But there was a text sent, and we don't know exactly what was in it. So the Imperial Knights player then saw the text. And guys, the Imperial Knights player's name is Brian Jones. He's a great guy. I played him at the World Championships. He is a solid rock star of a dude. Very good player. Very moral player. He saw the text and he said, wait a second. You were supposed to be wounding me on 6s. What happened? Well, it was very, very clear that he provided the incorrect information to the Orc player. The Orc player asked what the toughness of Canis Rex is. Now, should the Orc player have known the toughness of Canis Rex? I mean, at this level, he probably should have known, but you can't expect your opponent to know every single rule and every single stat of your entire army. So when the Imperial Knights player said the toughness is 10, of course the Orc player rolled as if it was toughness 10. So that is not the Orcs player fault. It is the Imperial Knights player's fault for reporting that the toughness of this model was T10. Now, Brian was given a yellow card for receiving a text with information. This is very basic, guys. You cannot receive outside help while you're playing the game. We're going to talk a little bit more about what Brian could have done a little bit differently here, but Brian was clearly in the wrong, and he rightfully so received a yellow card for this occurrence. It is what it is. Mistakes happen. You saw the text, you go, oh, crap. Brian didn't ask anyone to text him if they were making mistakes. Brian didn't ask anything else. There was an unsolicited advice, and Brian went, oh, shoot, I made a mistake. And they went and re-rolled it, and actually it was the same results. Canis Rex still died when they rolled it with the correct stats. So, yeah. Reality is, when Brian Jones received this text, first off, he probably should have his phone off. But if he has his phone on, when he received the text, he should say, that was my mistake. He should show his opponent that he received a text so that he's never getting anything in secret. Be like, I should have checked my phone. I'm sorry I did. I think he got it on his Apple Watch or something, actually. And then he shows it to his opponent, be like, hey, listen, it was my mistake. I gave you the wrong orders, so we're just going to move on as if everything was played appropriately. That would be the correct response. They asked her, respawn, or it might have been actually the judge who made them redo it, and the same result, Canis Rex still died, but Brian Jones was given a yellow card for this. very appropriately so. This is a yellow card for just playing wrong and doing something a little bit wrong, but it is clearly not cheating. This is not a cheating example. This isn't Brian texting his friend being like, hey, make sure you message me if anything goes wrong on screen. So don't take a stupid, like, hot Reddit take. No one cheated. It was just a yellow card, and it was appropriately applied here. Now, there's a second yellow card that occurred during this game that occurred for the orc player. And basically what happened is the orc player just played a bunch of rules very wrong. So, for example, he was rolling to get command points for his Gretchen in the command phase, where that's supposed to happen in the movement phase. He was throwing squig bombs when he was setting them up outside of a truck instead of after they finished a normal move. At one point in time, he actually did an Overwatch with using firing deck out of a truck. And as most of you should know, and if you don't, here's some good information. You cannot use the firing deck special rule of transports to do an Overwatch. If a truck wants to Overwatch, it can only use its weapons. It can't use the weapons of the models that are embarked inside of it to do the Overwatch with. So he actually did the Overwatch out of the truck. And by the way, Brian Jones didn't catch the mistake either, not until a few moments later when the judge is like, wait a second, you guys couldn't do that. And then the judge comes over and he looks at the orc player and he says, listen, you've got so many of your rules wrong. This has been a myriad of mistakes, and you have to clean up your play. Here's a yellow card. You just got to do better. You can't make this many mistakes. It's irresponsible. It's, once again, it's not cheating, but it is just and this is true. This was irresponsible play. It's just you should play your rules better than that. All right. Now, were these yellow cards justified? Absolutely. Was it cheating? Absolutely not. Now, we're going to talk about some examples where we actually had cheating, and we're going to talk about what these players could have done better and what their responsibilities are and why you see so many mistakes on stream. So let's go to this next one. Has anyone ever actually been caught cheating? And the answer is yeah, people have been caught cheating. And cheating is very, very different. One thing that you see with cheating is when people are moving models post or pre-movement phase, being like, oh, well, let me just nudge this model here, or let me just nudge this model here. And it's certainly one thing when you look at your opponent, you say, hey, bro, I meant to not be touching this terrain. Would you mind if I move my model off the terrain? And your opponent goes, please, go ahead. It's another thing just to do it without talking to your opponent. If you just do it without talking to your opponent, it's like, okay, well, that's freaking cheating, dude. You can't do that. And people, that has been caught on stream. People hiding dice, so rolling behind a wall so your opponent can't really see where you're rolling, and then lying about what those dice are. We have seen that on stream. That is cheating. It's kind of amazing we've seen on that stream, but we absolutely have. Lying about distance measured, so you're like, oh yeah, you're totally clearly within 11 inches of me, but it's like, it's clearly 14 inches. Yeah, I mean, people have been caught doing that. That is cheating. Lying about strats and stratagems. We have literally had people on stream caught omitting entire sentences from stratagems to try to make it so that the stratagem works for the scenario that they're trying to apply. This has happened. And you know what? Some of the times, people who get caught cheating clean up their act, and they come back as really moral good players, realizing what they did wrong. Some players are just POSs who got caught cheating. Neither of these two gentlemen at the Cherokee were cheaters at all. They were just playing sloppy, and now I think we're gonna move on into why we actually see this sloppy play happen at these tables. So, is it a common occurrence? Cheating is certainly not a common occurrence. It's just not happening. But oddly enough, when top tables are streamed, there tend to be a lot of mistakes made by both players, and we saw this at the World Championship of Warhammer. We saw this at LVO a lot of times. We saw this here at Cherokee. There's a lot of events where you're gonna see players just make some mistakes that are kind of head scratchers. And this doesn't mean that everyone is cheating. Listen, guys, you have players on here who are coaches for a living. Like, for example, for a living, I am a Warhammer 40,000 coach. For a living, you have our war guys out there. You have freaking Ennis Wilson from StatCheck out there. You guys have professional coaches. If they make a mistake on stream, I can promise you, they're not cheating. It is a thing that occurs with playing on stream, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. If you think that every time a mistake is made on stream, that's cheating, no, that's just a stupid Reddit take, and you need to stop making that claim. So guys, what's actually going on at top tables on stream when you see players making these mistakes? Well, here's the deal. When you're playing on stream, it is inherently much more challenging to play on stream. It just is. It is a much harder game to play on stream, especially for people who have never played on stream before. First off, there is a huge physical stress. This includes having extended table size, especially if you watch like Joe's setup from War Games Live. Listen, I love Joe. I think he's the best streamer in the business, and I really appreciate the work he does. He makes watching Warhammer fun, like actually fun, and not just like interesting for super nerds, right? Like that, it's an amazing thing that he does. But one of the things that he has to do this is he has an extended table size because he has to have these rolling pins so that the cameras can move and rotate. This actually increases a lot of the physical stress on the players. Suddenly they have to lean over the table a lot more. This puts stress on the back. This causes you to sweat more. This makes your feet hurt more. Um, this makes measuring distances a lot harder. It makes you have to be careful while you're moving so that you don't accidentally elbow the camera rig, because you don't want to hurt, the camera rig. Those are really expensive cameras. So you want to be very respectful of the streamer's equipment. This makes it very hard to judge line of sight. So you're going to see people make natural gameplay errors simply because a lot of times on these streaming tables, you can't physically be in the position to move the models the way that you want to be in position to do so. Then there's a massive mental stress that comes with playing on stream. One of those things being nervousness. Guys, shockingly enough, I know many people might not understand this, but in this hobby, there are some people who are introverts. There are some people who are not amazing extroverts in the hobby of Warhammer 40,000. I know, shocking, stunning, earth-shaking. I might have just shattered the glass for some of you guys. People get nervous on stream. When people are nervous, they make dumb mistakes that they otherwise wouldn't make. Now, listen, if you're a top table player and you know that you're going to be on streams, honestly, you probably need to do some work just being able to speak in public and be on stream. I would agree with that. But a lot of times you'll have some of these guys, like the Orc player at Cherokee, for example. He's probably never been on stream before. And you know what? I don't know if he has or not, but chances are he's never been on stream. And he got nervous. Of course you get nervous, man. And then you just make dumb play errors. And not only do you make dumb play errors, you'll just quickly answer a question without thinking too much about it. And then you compound this on with the fact that this is the 8th round of a tournament. I don't know if anyone, if you're watching this and you've never played 8 rounds in a row and you want to say fatigue cannot make you say dumb stuff, you should shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Fatigue will make people say stupid stuff all the time. Now, it is the responsibility is on the players to make sure that they're checking their fatigue, but the reality is that there will never, ever be a perfect game of Warhammer played on stream. It will not happen. There will always be a mistake. Now, let's talk about how to solve some of these mistakes, and how do we actually, as players, what are our responsibilities to make sure that we're doing this correctly on stream, okay? First off, players, so in this case, Brian and Steven, they have a responsibility to play the best game that they can. Their responsibility is not to be entertaining. They are not there to entertain you. They are there to play their game. Now, it's bonus points if they're entertaining. It makes it a lot more fun for people to watch. It grows the hobby. So it's great if people are entertaining, but that's not their responsibility. Their responsibility is also not to know every rule in the entire game. Guys, I do this thing for a living, and guess what? Occasionally, I will get rules wrong. But they do need to know their rules 100%. So this is the player's responsibility. And I think I maintain this for basically every player at every level, whether you're at lower tables, middle tables, whatever. You should know your army's rules. You should know that Gretchen gets CP in the movement phase and not in the command phase. Now, when you're fatigued, is it understandable to make that mistake? Yeah, totally, because the rule used to be that Gretchen do it in the command phase, not in the movement phase. So it's okay. It happens where it can slide into old habits. But the reality is that you do need to know your rules 100%. It's not the Orcs player's responsibility to know that Canis Rex's toughness is T12. It is the Knights player's responsibility to know that the Knights that Canis Rex's toughness is T12. Now, it's also an easy mistake to make at 8 rounds into the game, because all of the baby knights, the armigers, all of their toughness is T10. So Brian just goes, oh, it's T10 because that's the number that he has in his head. This is a mistake of fatigue. Listen, your responsibility as a player, though, is to know your rules 100% cold. You should know all of your stratagems. You should know all of your enhancements. You should know how your army works. If you know how your army works and you guys misplay a core rule a little bit wrong, honestly, that's going to happen. There's always going to be a mistake. People are still confused over when you can and can't consolidate onto an objective versus into a unit. I played some scrim games against some WTC teams in the last 2 weeks. I had to educate both the players I played on when they can consolidate towards the objective versus when they can consolidate. There are just confusing things in Warhammer, okay? And these are things that you're going to see messed up on stream. It's going to happen. You as the player, you should either mute your phone or make sure that your opponent is able to see whatever text that you receive. Listen, guys, when I play, my phone is on. I've got a newborn. I've got a wife. If she needs to get in touch with me, I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to check my phone. But what I will 100% do is I will make sure that my opponent has the opportunity to look at what I'm doing when I'm on my phone. So basically no naughty pictures while you're playing. Not that my wife, who is a trad woman, a good Christian lady, she would never send naughty pictures. But yeah, so listen, if you have your phone on you and you're going to be receiving messages, just make sure that your opponent knows what you're doing. Be very upfront and honest about it, because I'm never going to turn my phone off while I play. If you and so you just don't hide it. You just be completely transparent, 100% open with it. Okay. In this scenario, like Brian got an unsolicited text telling him, "Oh hey, check the stats." First off, that guy who sent the unsolicited text, don't do that. Come on, you're not helping. You're actually ruining things because you know you're not supposed to do that. You can't be texting people while they're playing. That's messed up. But two, what Brian should have done with that information is he should have immediately just showed it to his opponent, be like, "Hey, listen, this was an error, but I made this error. I told you it was T10. We're going to move on. We're not going to go back and re-roll that because that was my error." That would be the appropriate way to handle it. And then, you know what? No yellow card necessary at all. I think you just move on. Everything is totally good at that point. So if you make an honest mistake and it's your mistake, just own the fact that it is your mistake. Then you never have any freaking issues. Players on stream have a responsibility to use accurate distance measurements. Now, one thing that I always mention, and I've mentioned it several times. So guys, tape measures are not that accurate most of the time. If you have to do a pylon, you should have a 3-inch widget. Actually, I'm going to be selling some pretty soon, so I got you. I should have had it ready for this video, but yeah, say lovey. So you should have a 3-inch widget that is exactly 3 inches, so you know how far you can pylon, how far you can consolidate. You should have a 6-inch stick so that you know exactly how far models can move, 6 inches. You should have a 9-inch stick so you know exactly how far to screen for deep strikes and stuff like that. You should have a 12-inch stick for like infiltrators who have infiltrate denial or whatever, or lone op, right? Don't rely on tape measures, which are inherently inaccurate. Try to use these straight sticks. That they can be flexible and stuff, whatever, but it's going to make it much more accurate, especially when you're having to lean over these tables on streams. And viewers, seriously, if you're watching it and you're enjoying the game, we all love that you're watching and you're participating, but seriously, don't be an idiot. Do not text the players. That's just messed up. Now, lastly, what responsibilities do the streamers themselves have? The streamers themselves, their responsibility is to put on an entertaining product that is going to make them money. That's it. That's why they're doing it. They're doing it. They're doing their job. They're providing you, the viewer, a service. Their job is to be entertaining and to make sure that you guys are enjoying yourselves. That's it. They should have zero interference with the game. They should have absolutely zero contact with the players outside of technical issues. Like if the players are having problems with where the camera is, or if the players are having a problem with like the scoreboard or whatever. That's where the streamer's job is to step in. He is not a judge. He should never have any contact with the players outside of that. I would recommend that the streamer's responsibility includes setting up a comfortable stream environment for the players. So for example, they should set up a dice box. They should provide tools for the players. They should have dice. They should have a clock. They should have those little measuring widgets that I told you about, because inherently you're going to have problems when you're leaning over using these tape measures. So I would say that actually could be a streamer's responsibility, is to ensure that the appropriate equipment is on the table to maximize the experience for both players and the viewers. But it is never the streamer's job to choose a side or be an unbiased mediator. So just ever. That's not their job. Their job is not to try to say, "Oh, hey, you play this rule wrong and you play this rule wrong." First off, the streamer might not even know the rules. Streamers are streamers. They're not like top level players, unless they are, but I don't know of any streamers out there who are top level players. So it's like, we love the product that they're doing. We love what they're doing, but their job is not to be the TO. That is the TO's job. So guys, this is it. When there are mistakes at these stream tables, the reality is you're probably watching some of the later rounds when you're watching the top players, and fatigue drops in. I myself have never played a perfect game. I have done things wrong in basically every single game I've ever played. This is true for every single person I have ever played against. I've played against every good player in the world. I've played against John Lennon. I've played against Ennis Wilson. I've played against everyone. I've never seen a single person play a perfect game. Maybe one day I will run into that mystery unicorn. It's possible. But it's tough. After 8 rounds, fatigue sets in. It is what it is. Cheating is very different than misplaying. Brian Jones and Steven, they both played a very sloppy game because they were both exhausted. It is what it is. But you know what? They're both great players. They are moral players. They both received a yellow card that they probably honestly deserved. And that's the end of it. So any hot Reddit takes that you hear going out there are just people being idiots and just spreading drama for no freaking reason. With that, I'm going to close out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, crop on. Bye-bye.